It's impossible to overestimate the importance of safety to your brand. It's a matter of the brand's life, or in some unfortunate cases, the brand's demise. That's why 3M Food Safety is dedicated to helping solve the challenges you face by providing tools to reduce your risk, increase productivity, and give you confidence in your quality and food safety management system. At the heart of our solutions are a number of surface sample acquisition systems, such as sponges, sponge sticks, and swabs to fit a variety of applications. Our 1/2 inch by 3 inch cellulose sponges are free of biocides and come pre-hydrated with your choice of buffering or neutralizing agents, or dry, so you have the option to add other buffers or neutralizing agents. 3M Sponge Stick is also available in hydrated or dry formats, with or without gloves. The sponge stick enables the sampling of a surface without touching the sponge. The stick facilitates access for some difficult-to-reach surfaces, such as drains, pipes, in and around equipment. 3M Quick Swabs are a ready-to-use swab system, including a 5-inch rayon tip swab that can be used wet or dry. The use of lethine broth within the system neutralizes the antimicrobial activity of residual quaternary ammonia sanitizers commonly used. 3M swab tubes and swab samplers are swabs in screw-cap tubes, pre-hydrated with your choice of buffering or neutralizing agents, or dry, so you have the option to add other buffers or neutralizing agents to facilitate sampling on a variety of surfaces for specific microorganisms. 3M EnviroSwab is a hybrid sponge swab sampling device incorporating the size and acquisition capabilities of a sponge with the versatility of a swab. The large swab head with a shaped tip and flexible plastic stem enables effective collection of organisms from surfaces that are difficult to reach, such as cracks, crevices, and holes. The 3M EnviroSwab comes dry or pre-moistened with a surfactant and salt solution designed to remove contaminants from a surface and maintain osmotic balance, ensuring maximum microorganism recovery. The system is also available dry for applications where appropriate. The following will review some ways to optimize the use of 3M sample acquisition tools. Pathogenic bacteria are not typically found in high levels in modern food plants, so an environmental monitoring program is an essential component of a pathogen control program. It is recommended that as large of an area as possible is sampled, or as much sample as possible is collected using a consistent technique. When monitoring for environmental pathogens, a sponge enables efficient and effective sampling over the recommended large surface area, with 1 square foot being a minimum. In general, effective sampling technique involves using firm pressure while vigorously rubbing the sponge side to side, covering the entire square, and then turning the sponge over and wiping it up and down over the surface of the square. Again, covering the same entire square. Be sure to swab the entire area and apply sufficient pressure with the sponge. To ensure reliability, the tool and technique should be applied consistently among all individuals collecting environmental surface samples. The following example shows the general accepted sampling technique using a pre-moistened, hydrated sponge on a 1 square foot area. Hold the bottom of the bag and shake it downward to move the sponge to the top of the bag. Pinch the bag and sponge to keep it close to the top of the bag. Rotate the bag top up and tear the bag open. Using the outside of the bag, push the sponge up so it is above the top of the bag. Continue to hold on to the bag as you tear open the glove packet. Grasp the glove by the cuff and put it on the sampling hand, ensuring to not contaminate the sponge. With the gloved hand and using aseptic technique, remove the sponge from the bag, avoiding cross-contamination of the sample from the bag. Squeezing the bag while removing the sponge widens the opening to minimize cross-contamination when putting the sponge back in the bag. Apply firm pressure with the sponge while wiping the sponge in a horizontal scrubbing motion, side to side, covering the entire 1 square foot area. Turn the sponge over and scrub vertically in an up and down motion, again, covering the entire square. Continue to apply sufficient pressure to the surface with the sponge. Place the sponge back inside the open sample bag. Be careful not to let the sponge touch the outside of the bag. Remove your glove and discard. Roll the top of the bag down and fold the wire tabs to close the bag securely. To obtain as much sample as possible while accessing difficult-to-reach surfaces, the sponge stick is an effective tool. Tear open the sample bag, and using the outside of the bag, push the stick up and out of the bag so it can be grasped aseptically. Grasp the handle of the stick and squeeze the bag to widen the opening and remove the sponge stick. Widening the opening will help minimize cross-contamination when putting the sponge back into the bag. Hold the stick between the thumb and first finger above the finger stop. In an effort to minimize cross-contamination and ensure sample integrity, do not touch the space between the finger stop and the sponge, including the sponge itself. Apply firm pressure to the sponge stick, wiping the sponge in a horizontal scrubbing motion, side to side, covering the entire 1 square foot area. Turn the sponge stick over and scrub vertically in an up and down motion, again, covering the entire square. Continue to apply sufficient pressure to the surface with the sponge. Take care not to let the sponge touch the outside of the bag as you place the sponge stick back in the sample bag, and do not insert the handle past the finger stop. Hold the sponge in place from outside the bag and bend the handle back and forth at the crease until it breaks off. Pull the handle out of the bag and let the sponge drop to the bottom of the bag. Roll the top of the bag down and fold the wire tabs to close the bag securely. A good tool when needing to sample small surfaces, holes, cracks, and crevices is the 3M Quick Swab. To use the swab pre-moistened with lethine broth, bend the bulb at the crease to break the valve. Then squeeze the bulb until all the broth has flowed down the tube and into the tip of the swab. Twist the cap to loosen. While removing the swab aseptically, press out the excess lethine broth against the interior wall of the vial with a rotating motion. Specifically avoid contact with the swab shaft with the hands and outside the edge of the tube. When monitoring for environmental pathogens in difficult-to-reach small areas, swabs enable efficient and effective sampling. The recommended surface areas to be sampled using the swab is 50 square centimeters or approximately 20 inches. Apply firm pressure with the swab at a 30-degree angle contact with the surface, wiping the tip slowly in a horizontal motion, side to side, in a Z pattern while rolling the swab, covering the entire 50 square centimeters or 20-inch surface. Return the swab head to the tube to rinse briefly in the solution, pressing out the excess as the swab is removed. Re-swab the same surface, turning the swabbing direction 90 degrees. Apply firm pressure with the swab at a 30-degree angle contact with the surface, wiping the tip slowly in a vertical motion, up and down, in a Z pattern, while rolling the swab, covering the entire 50 square centimeters or approximately 20-inch surface area. Again, returning the swab head to the tube to rinse briefly in the solution, pressing out the excess as the swab is removed. Finally, turn the swab another 90 degrees and repeat the scrubbing motion diagonally across the surface. As with the first two directions, apply firm pressure with the swab at a 30-degree angle contact with the surface, wiping the tip slowly in a diagonal motion using a Z pattern while rolling the tip, covering the entire 50 square centimeters or approximately 20-inch surface area. Carefully reinsert the swab into the tube and push to secure the swab in the tube to prevent sample leakage or cross-contamination. To analyze the sample acquired by the 3M Quick Swab, vortex the swab for 10 seconds to release the bacteria from the swab tip, and pour the entire contents onto a Petri film plate. Spread the sample, incubate, and interpret according to specific Petri film plate instructions. 3M swab tubes and swab samples can be used pre-moistened, similarly to the 3M Quick Swab. Twist the tube cap. While removing the swab aseptically, press out the excess solution against the interior wall of the vial with a rotating motion. Specifically avoid contact with the swab shaft with hands and the outside edge of the tube. Replicate the quick swab procedure, sampling a 50 centimeter square surface area in 3 directions, rinsing the swab between each direction. Ensure the cap is secure on the tube following sample acquisition to prevent cross-contamination. The EnviroSwab combines the accessibility features of a swab with the larger surface area of a sponge. It comes pre-moistened with a non-inhibitory surfactant buffering agent or dry, depending on sample acquisition needs. Remove the tamper-evident seal and twist the tube cap to loosen and remove the swab. Using aseptic procedures to prevent cross-contamination, replicate the swab procedure starting with the horizontal scrubbing, side to side, over the surface area. Follow this with the vertical, up and down, and diagonal sampling. Finish by returning the swab to the tube and securing the lid. A key component of any effective food safety management system is a robust environmental monitoring program that includes a sampling of equipment and surfaces in the food and beverage industry. 3M Food Safety provides a number of options to ensure consistency and simplify your processes through the proper use of 3M sponges and swabs. If you have any questions, please call us at 1-800-328-6553 or visit our website at www.3m.com/food safety. Life is a risk, but your brand is not. And that's why we're with you every step of the way, with proven solutions that mitigate food safety risks, improve efficiencies, and maximize your sampling reliability.